Good afternoon, everyone. Gabe Velazquez here with you, transparenttrading-solutions.com. Welcome, everybody, for our recap. This is Friday the 9th. So, just a couple things. I have a class coming up here. I'm getting full where I'm going to limit the amount of people coming in. We at TTS have done really well in our options trading in the last week, actually for the last month or so. We just closed out another Tesla position. We closed out DocuSign this morning, in fact. So if you're interested, again, this is a full class. It's recordings provided, follow-up, first teaching I've actually done since I left. So if you are interested in, that's going to be next Tuesday, go ahead and hit the link below, find out what that's all about. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Really, probably going to be another short show because we really, what are you going to say? I mean, the markets are just kind of wavering, meandering about here. We did have rollover on all the equity products. And so depending on the charts that you're using, we are now on all of the equity products, the S&P, the NASDAQ, Russell, and Dow. We are trading the September. There's about a 40-point discrepancy between the June and the September. So you're probably going to get some rollover gaps. It's been a little confusing in the last couple of days for a lot of people, depending on the charts that you're using and so forth. But on the cash basis, 4,300 is obviously the level, and really not much to say that I didn't say last time I was with you. On the September futures, looks like 4,350. On the June futures that are expiring, it's 4,300. And most of the averages just spent pretty much all week in a very narrow range. So not a lot to talk about there. Small caps, again, I mentioned we were trying to get short small caps at 1,900 on the June contract, 1,902 to be specific. We didn't quite get there. You can see the divergence again between small caps, mega cap, tech. But here's the thing. Next week, we probably the calm before the storm. Next week, we got huge, we got a Fed meeting on Wednesday. We got CPI on Tuesday, PPI the same day of the Fed meeting, ECB on Thursday, and Bank of Japan on Friday. So we should get a resumption of volatility coming in starting next week, which I'm excited about. But in the meantime, there's a lot of stuff going on under the hood. As you know, Tesla just was a rocket ship. We left a lot of money on the table, in fact, in our Tesla position. So we did leave some money on the table, but all in all, we did well. We did cover our short in oil as well that I mentioned the other day. So so that's really kind of looking forward to next week. Bonds are also been chopping around back and forth. And again, just to kind of reiterate what I talked about, the dollar and bonds are still highly correlated. Again, if you look at your chart, here's what I would suggest you do. Take a chart of the dollar index, the Dixie, put it side by side with a yield chart of the 10-year, and you can see the correlation. Basically, what happens when yields come up, dollar goes up. When yields come down, dollar goes down. And that correlation is very, very strong. So what that tells us is next week, clearly we're going to have some volatility in the bond market. And so wherever direction the bonds go now on the charts, the 10-year, which is really the one I look at mostly, is we came up to the let's call it 115 level. There's a base drop there, pulled back, and now we're kind of back and forth, just really choppy. The key level I'm looking at on the 10-year is actually going to be down at those lows around 112.5 on the 10-year. And also a key level to look at on the 10-year would be the 4% level. So if you're looking at yields, look at 4% on the yields, and obviously next week with the Fed and all the inflation numbers coming out, we should get a bunch of volatility in the bond market, um, which should also. I think that if the yields really keep rising, in other words, if the bond market keeps tanking below that 114 level on the 10-year, that is probably going to have a little bit of impact, negative impact on stocks. For now, really, stocks, as you know, have been very resilient. I tweeted out earlier about now they're talking about the retail trader coming back on the market. Markets, this is really astonishing to me. The market's up 20% from the October lows, and now they're calling it a bull market. So just really interesting, right? In the meantime, you've missed, if you haven't been involved with the market, you've missed all these tremendous rallies in some of these tech stocks and whatever. So you know how I buy low, sell high, and I don't care about labels. At the end of the day, I always ask people, at the end of the day, do you make money? Period. End of story. All the other stuff is just a bunch of noise, right? Everything is noise, noise, noise. And if again, at the end of the day, the only reason I don't know about you, but the only reason you should be doing this is one reason and one reason only. And if you're doing it for an intellectual exercise or because your ego or whatever, doesn't mean a thing. At the end of the day, do you make money? Period. End of story. If you don't make money, if you've been doing this for 2-3 years and you still can't make money, you probably want to consider another career, or you got to consider doing something else. I've had that conversation with so many people in the last 6 months, I have to tell you, or actually in the last year. And you got to get serious about this. You got to put the time in. You got to control your emotions. You got to be disciplined. You have to have a proven process. So I'll be talking about that in my class this coming up. But really, at the end of the day, just it's real super simple. Do you make money? Period. End of story. Now, we don't all make money all the time, but over the long term, are you elevating the level on your account balance, right? We never make money. We never make money all the time, but over the long. And again, what I mean, I'm talking about 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, 12 months. Are you raising your balance on your account, right? What I see a lot lately is, again, nobody has the staying power. Everybody, you get a bad month, and all of a sudden you give up and whatever. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I've been talking to so many people. It's just, again, it's just like, man, like beating my head against the wall with some of this stuff, right? Anyways, you get the idea, everybody. So going back to this, yeah, the dollar again, nothing really going on. So, we get a lot of chop. And, one thing I will mention, we're getting rollover in the currencies. And I've been talking about the yen, the peso. In fact, we are starting to get, the peso's right up against our entry. Remember, we were talking about shorting the peso. However, here's the thing with rollover coming up. I'm not a day trader. We're swing traders here at TTS. So, until we get that rollover, I don't want to, one of the things I told my members today is I don't want to get short that June peso and then, have to roll that over next week. And the charts are going to look a little bit different, as you know, so when you get the rollover on the contracts, you get a different looking chart, you may get a gap and all this kind of stuff. So at the end of the day, we're going to probably hold off on that until next week. We're still going to get short peso once I get the new charts up. And one of the things about, I'm on TOS, as you guys know, on TradeStation or some of these other platforms, you can create custom charts. But on TOS, generally speaking, you have to wait till they roll over the charts and get that new continuous chart or whatever. So That's probably coming on Sunday for us. And so when that happens, we'll be getting short the peso at whatever level happens to come in on the September contract. Does that make sense? Okay. Then we have, we have ECB on Thursday, and then Bank of Japan. Remember, I've been talking about the yen, so it's going to be interesting. That's not till Friday of next week, so we should get some volatility in the yen. Still looking at that, but that's really on the currencies. But all in all, again, I would just sum that up with look at interest rates, and we clearly will have some volatility coming into the dollar. And again, it's going to be predicated on where interest rates go here in the U.S. because we got that exchange rate kind of situation. Okay, on the metals, not a lot going on. Again, gold just chopping around back and forth. Silver did kind of get a little bit of a lift, but nothing really dramatic. I think, again, based on if the dollar does decide to tank next week, we probably get a jump in silver. Similarly, in copper, just kind of been edging higher, but just very, very kind of meandering kind of movement. I think I did mention we were short oil from last Sunday. We covered that, had a nice profit on that. And now we're neutral on oil. And oil, as you know, I mean, even when we had a big sell-off yesterday, came ricocheted right off. But generally speaking, oil has been a challenge unless you're super nimble. It's just been back and forth all over the place, just news driven on China and the Middle East. I think it was Iraq. The rumors about Iraq and U.S. coming together with a nuclear deal that tanked the market initially. Then they, then it was proven to be false, and then the market came back. So all in all, I'm still looking at that 70 on oil for next week. I think there's still potential at that 75 level, 75 to 76 for another short. And then on the long, I still believe that we will come down and test those lows around 64, 63 area at some point. But if you look at that chart, you can see how it's just been just chopping around back and forth. Nat gas, nothing really to spend any time with there. And then we had a grain report. I think I mentioned that we had a grain report. Really, the only thing that moved was the soybeans. We were kind of in a very tight consolidation and broke out. We're heading up to some decent levels up around the 1430 area on soybeans. But that was the only market that really had any sort of movement impacted by the grain reports. So we'll see how that goes next week. Cattle's been on a rage, on a tear lately. I know you guys trade live cattle. I kind of don't, I don't look at it too much, but look at the chart of live cattle. That thing has been on a tear. And then finally, the VIX at 13, 14, still kind of hanging around. The lows, I think we may be in a new paradigm here. If you go back to 2019 and look at the VIX was trading between 10 and 20. We could be in that same paradigm. There's a low around 12 on the VIX coming up next week. Again, as I mentioned, that doesn't necessarily automatically give us a sell signal. It's just something to be watchful. And that's actually really beneficial to our options trading. That's why we've literally been making all our money in the last, and we've done really, really well. If you guys sign up for the class, I'll give you guys some, I'll actually go through the last several weeks where we have really done tremendous with our options. Again, no guarantees that will continue, obviously. But options, the fact that the VIX is so low really gives us some great opportunities in the options, and the fact that we're focused on some of these stocks, like Tesla is our main focal point every week, because you can see that thing is just moving like crazy. So you got to be able to move around, be flexible, not be so one-dimensional, and that's where options really. If you want to do this seriously, you can't be so one-dimensional. You got to have all kinds of arrows in your quiver. Nobody is going to do this if all you do is just focus on one market or one asset class or whatever. And people are complaining. If you're trying to trade the indexes this week, there was a 30-point range. There was nothing to do. However, if you have the flexibility and the strategy to go into different arenas, stocks, there's a bunch of stocks doing stuff that's great. DocuSign came out with earnings. There was I told you we covered that this morning, going into the earnings. Tesla, we were in Dollar General last week, which was a tremendous trade. We're looking at Oracle next week, and so on and so forth. So again, if you're interested in learning about what I'm doing here on the options front, and you may be, again, you may be a little bit. A lot of people are kind of, they think options are too complicated. They're really not, if you really understand the basics of options, and more importantly. So just to end the session, it is going to be strategy. It's not going to be a basic class. I'm actually going to go through the setups that we did. I'll show you the examples that we've been doing, how to set them up, go through everything top to bottom. There's 3 strategies that I primarily use. I'll be going through that. So it is a 2-hour class. It is a class. It's not a promotional thing. So you'll get recordings. You'll get all the backup that you need, one-on-one Zooms to make sure you learn the material. So it is an actual class, not anything else. So if you're interested in that, that's going to be Tuesday. Hit the link below, and hopefully I'll see some of you there. We're already we're about 3/4 of the way full. I want to limit it again to not that many students because I want to be able to interact with everybody. Okay, so we're about 3/4 of the way full. So if you are interested, hit the link below. If not, next week, again, just to wrap up, next week, tremendous. I think, this week was very quiet because we really didn't have a whole lot of catalysts. But as you know, next week could be we could be back into the futures market because, we're clearly going to get a ton of volatility in the futures markets, the dollar, bonds, equities, with the Fed and all the inflation numbers coming out. So, okay. All right, everybody. Again, if you need anything, support at Transparent Trading Solutions. .com. You can, all the links are below. If not, have a great weekend, and I'm excited about next week, in terms of maybe some finally the averages moving and so forth. But regardless, options did great this week for us, and we'll keep maybe it'll open up a little bit more on the future side as well. Okay. All right, everybody, have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you on Tuesday. Okay. Take care.